My name is Andy Bhattacharya. I'm the founding member of Amplo Global. With AWS, we have enabled Automotive OEM for their transparency and visibility and traceability solution, specifically focused on climate risk management. And I'm going to talk about their journey, our journey, and how we have enabled them in their climate risk journey. In the agenda, we have, I'll give a brief introduction today about the automotive industry and the demand that being created, along with supply chain, manufacturing, product innovation, sustainability as a topic. Second, I'm going to cover how this OEM we worked with, how they have benchmarked leveraging the platform powered by AWS on various climate risk categories. We will also discuss about the simulation element of this based on the climate risk and carbon risk. When I say climate risk, it's about emitting carbon and damage, and really, I would say, damaging the overall environment. How do we help and the organization to manage that risk, managing the top 5 programs versus bottom 5 programs or categories of climate risk, how they will be implementing this, and at the same time, managing their budget, managing their implementation cycle, managing resources. That's what I call risk simulation that we will talk about. And the last topic that we finish up with is on economic benefits. When we do a risk simulation, it's very important that we connect to your overall cash flow, income statement, and balance sheet. That's something that we will discuss a little bit at the end. And then, of course, when this is done, one thing I would like to mention also, before we get into the use case, this is a repeat cycle. So the way the whole use case has been designed is on the platform powered by AWS. It's like you do a benchmark, you do a risk analysis, you connect that to your economics, go implement, maybe leveraging other tools, come back and do another round of benchmarking, risk analysis, and economic benefits. It's kind of a cyclical thing. That being said, I'm going to start the presentation here, and we'll talk about the demand and the imperatives of sustainability need in the manufacturing / in the automotive industry. We as Amplo Global, we are a platform company. We do have a platform powered by AWS, and we really see the 3 broad aspects of sustainability. It's risk, it's data collection and reporting. We are mainly focusing on risk and carbon accounting, of course, a little bit of data collection. And then we work with partners to do the reporting part, reporting to the local and federal government. So from an automotive perspective, we see the end-to-end demand, not only from a manufacturing perspective, but also from supply chain, from distribution, from dealers. And it has a whole demand from R&D and engineering, where when the product is getting manufactured, a piece of the product is getting manufactured, do we consider product carbon footprint? Supply chain, which we'll talk about today, manufacturing, we talk about today, marketing, sales also. There's a lot of focus on automotive marketing, sales focus from a climate risk perspective, based on the buyers, based on the choices that a buyer is making, based on region they are in. It's a high polluted city or less polluted city, how the automotive industry would impact that. They're all coming into sales and marketing. Of course, at the end of the day, experience is big. The last 2 are mainly on the experience side. One is on the mobility and the overall customer experience, and the second is experience with the workers, voice of workers as we call it, voice of customers as we call it. It's all about experience center. So this end-to-end is demanding a lot of sustainability programs to be enabled. So from a little bit of introduction before we get into the exact use case. So on AWS, with AWS's various tiered level of the product suites, we have enabled this solution. So we basically analyze your environmental, social, and governance catalogs and do risk simulations and optimization and recommendation for your sustainability use cases. Is the investment right? Is the risk rightly analyzed? Are you really going against the compliance, or you really want to implement this as a transformation agenda? So we do all the simulations and recommendations powered by AWS. A quick demonstration of the story that we will talk about. So these are some of the elements we'll be leveraging today. So first, we'll talk about benchmarking with the OEM. We'll talk about how we bring frameworks. We will talk about, based on the suggestions and recommendations, how they had set their goals, and they have now planned versus actuals coming in, and then how they are really doing their overall, the term that we use in sustainability, like metrality and double metrality, how you're looking into some of the things that from an impact perspective, from organization to the outside world, and from the outside world back to the organization, how the overall impact analysis is done, how the financials align to it. That's where we talk about double metrality a little bit, and then really develop an execution plan to roll this out in the next 3 years. Because any plan that you do in sustainability, or rather any transformation program, it takes around 3 to 5 years to really roll this out from an entire ecosystem perspective. It's not just about the OEM here, it's about the ecosystem as well. So the first thing we'll talk about is benchmarking. So this organization talked about various areas of benchmarking. Let's talk about climate-related governance, compliance, initiatives, investments, emission accounting, and carbon credit accounting, both. Supplier, which is a big focus for OEMs, and waste management and water management. So these are some of the areas we benchmarked, and we figured out that the pie which is coming out is actually the German OEM. In this case, the organization we worked with is Volkswagen, Skoda, both in Germany and India. And this is the pie that coming out is for them. So you will see that some of them they're ahead, some of them they're behind. And that's what the benchmarking result was warranted for, completely done on the platform powered by AWS. The second thing that we did, which we call is capability analysis and causal analysis of the program readiness for the automotive OEM out here. Each of this box is like a capability, and this is aligned to a framework called TCFD. It's Task Force Climate Financial Disclosure Agreement. So the operations, the supply chain would be audited, and then they have to make sure that they follow these mandates, both from the original country of origin in Germany and country of development, which is India in this case, because manufacturing is happening in India. Distribution may happen across India, outside India, pan-Asia. So these mandates are important for them. So what we had done, we had enabled the organization to really do causal analysis and risk analysis on each of this brick, as I call it a brick. And each of this brick is, you will see a little bit in the next few screens, that how it explodes from level 1 to level 5, and how the organization leveraged the solution to really did the risk assessment based on various stakeholders that they're aligned to. And there are 7 to 8 stakeholders that we worked with. We worked with governance, compliance, procurement, supply chain, manufacturing, product innovation, engineering. So all are involved in one platform, one centralized platform to do simulation. And when you have all collaborating on a platform, especially in a high-driven platform, there's a lot of efficiency comes into play, other than just doing a pure consultative services. So in this case, as you see, Volkswagen, Skoda, they came in and did a complete analysis. The previous screen got highlighted here with various color codes, just because now we have done the simulation, and you see some of the results on the left side that we jotted down. That look, here are some of the capabilities what you should look into when you enable TCFD. Some of the capabilities are behind, some of the capabilities are ahead, some are laggards. And it's, again, comparative analysis between the benchmarking we did and the heat map we are doing. There is always an inside-out view on this, and there's an outside-in view on this too. So that's how they came to know how they are performing and what they have to do from a climate risk perspective. Some of the recommendations we provided, there's some of the examples around risk report on supplier selection strategy. So for physical risk of climate change, how do you make sure that the supply strategy is in place? If it's not placed, what they have to do, and giving some recommendations out here. Similarly, for risk report on supplier greenhouse gas emission, that, okay, you're working with the supplier is not so good in sustainability or really managing their own product carbon footprint, which is the OEM's scope 3, but it's a scope 1 for the vendor. So what the risk scores are. So you will see on top, You have some scores and ranking coming up from a platform, which are all industry standard recommendations and algorithms. And then also the risk quotient that we are sharing. Another example on the product lifecycle strategy, which we in short we call LCA, lifecycle analysis, and how they are ranked within the organization is 47th, which means pretty far behind amidst all the capabilities, and they should really look into this. And then also risk report on extreme climate impact. It's a rank 40, not that great. We're a little ahead from the last one, but it's definitely behind. So they should focus on this in the next 2 to 3 years to optimize their climate risk practice. Another example is governance. It seems like they're also kind of the same ranks here. There is a score that comes out from the platform, and they're really looking into some governance mechanism to integrate climate change, but they're way behind on some of these suggestions. Just an illustrative example. They may or may not, but it's something that you're explaining with the platform out here that we have delivered. Now, when we do this risk analysis, how it will impact your economic benefit. That's something we need to look into. And that's where we take this. If you really see this matrix, it's an outcome from a platform where you take the risk category, physical and both are physical in this as an example. Risk type is supplier and product life cycle. And then you have various parameters, various KPIs, business problems. And now how do you tie that to all your impacts, like financial and dealership network, $5,000 revenue loss due to inaccurate response time. So, and it's kind of a self-explanatory out here. Some have value, some doesn't have value because they're also trying to figure this out, what the potential profits would be done. But what is the main message from the slide? The main message from the slide is everything that we are doing in the risk analysis on E, S, and G, environmental, social, and governance, it has no value if I don't connect this to a economic benefit analysis. And that's what we have done for them. And some of the propositions that we have kept along with AWS is, look, at the end of the day, when you see some benefits coming out on your economic benefits from a business angle, we leverage a powerful tool like this, the one that we have created on AWS with an amazing performance that the OEM has got, with so many people logging in, is about how do we leverage a joint value proposition back to customer and really figuring out for scaling this. For example, this organization leverages industrial IoT. Now, if we can start collecting data real time from the manufacturing into Amplo Fly 4.0, which is powered by AWS, how do we do some advanced analytics on it? How do you recommend, based on this analytics, running some AI ML algorithms? Can we go outside and do some, if I may use a technical term, like reading from the web or web crawling, leveraging some of the algorithms that AWS has and help you in better decision making? So there's a lot of value proposition together while we have enabled the organization that I talked about on the economic benefits from ES and G risk analysis for the climate risk. So I would say at the end is when you're enabling this risk assessments and really eliciting information from outside in, inside out, and giving recommendations on climate risk analysis to implement this along with supply chain manufacturing on SaaS, software as a service and cloud, powered by AWS, is something that gives you transparency, gives you visibility, gives you traceability as an organization, and really helps you to improve your supply chain, manufacturing, along with sustainability. So wholly integrated sustainability in your business programs.